here we begin with the second class for CMA final. And so nice to know with all your messages that you have completed 4 to 5 videos for CMA inter revision that will help you to build a superb background. Today we are doing the new tax regime, that is section 115 BAC provisions. And because there are a lot of amendments in 2023 also in the new tax regime which are not applicable for our exam. But because of that, this topic has become very important now. Okay. So as I start this topic, before that, you tell me, are there any doubts in the old tax regime which we have finished in the last class? Individual should pay as per the tax rates, basic exemption, non-residents, even if they are 82 years, they don't get the benefit of additional basic exemption. Concept of rebate, unutilized basic exemption, it's the most important class. I'm telling you, watch it once again. You all have got that benefit of listening to the live classes also and the recording also. Marginal relief, 5 marks exclusive question can be asked. Special income, special rates, concept of surcharge, rebate, all this we have done in the last class. Today we are doing new tax regime. The next class we will be doing alternative minimum tax, and then MAT and return of income and charitable trust and so on. Okay. Now, when I'm saying new tax regime, this is a different way of tax calculation. Your routine is clear up to 2,50,000 nil, 2,50,000 to 5 lakh 5%, 5 lakh to 10 lakh 20%, 10 lakh above and so on. In the new tax regime, the way you are calculating tax is different, and this is optional. You can go for the old tax regime, you can go for the new tax regime. But when you go for new tax regime, certain deductions and exemptions which are allowed are not allowed here. And even the tax calculation is different. So what we will do is, coming 45 minutes, 1 hour, whatever is required, let us first learn the new tax regime. Once we know how the new tax regime works, and yesterday we have already done the old tax regime, we can solve problems comparative. As an individual, if I go with old tax regime, what would be my tax? If I go with new tax regime, what would be my tax? Is this clear? And definitely they can ask you questions. Today I'll solve 1 or 2 problems, and the recent exam, the one which came, one more, I'll be sending you in our WhatsApp group, and that also you should do. So ready to go? In your material, next only after this it is given. We have finished yesterday. I'm sharing the screen. I hope it is clear to all of you. All this surcharge and all this we have finished. Tax planning, tax avoidance, this we have done. Alternative tax regime. This is called as section 115 BAC. The terms and conditions are very important for your MCQs also. This new scheme is applicable only for individual and HUF. So this 115 BAC is not applicable for BOI, AOP, AJP and all. It is applicable only for individuals and HUFs. Okay. They have an option to pay the tax at new tax regime rates. What is the slab rate? Up to 2,50,000 nil. 250 to 5 lakh 5%. Man, ये तो बिल्कुल same है. 5 lakh to 7 lakh 50,000 10%. 750 to 10 lakh 15%. 10 lakh to 12 lakh 50,000 20%. 12 lakh 50,000 and above to 15 lakhs 25%. Above 15 lakhs 30%. Now where is the difference? Still here it is same. Now old tax regime में 5 to 10 lakh directly it is 20%. Here for every 2,50,000 increase in the total income, the tax rate is increasing by 5%. Just give me 2 minutes, I'll be back here only. Till then, just compare the old and new. Here then, 10 lakhs and above it is how much? 30%. Here, 15 lakhs and above it is 30%. Check this. 15 lakhs and above it is 30%. 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 15 lakhs and Nice. Chalo. So this tax rates you will have to remember up to 2,50,000 nil, 250 to 5 lakh, 5%, 5 lakh to 750, then 10%, 750 to 10 lakh, 15%, 10 lakh to 12 lakh, 50,000. Like that, for every 2,50,000 increase, the percentage is increasing by 5%. Now, alternative minimum tax, which is also applicable for individuals and HFs, we will see in tomorrow's class. It is called as minimum AMT you have to pay irrespective of your tax rates. So if individuals and HFs are opting for 115 BAC, then they are not liable for minimum or AMT, that is minimum tax as per 115 JC. 115 JB we will do, that is MAT. That is also a minimum tax, but that is applicable as per the companies. Clear? So if the brought forward AMT credit is there, ma'am, until now I was having AMT, it was alternative minimum tax. And now I want to go for 115 BAC new tax regime. Can I set off that AMT credit here? Answer is no. First you go in AMT, do all that set off, and then go to the new tax regime. Once again, this new tax regime, what is the section? 115 BAC. And it is applicable for whom? It is applicable only for individuals and HUFs. And will the individual and HUF get rebate in the scheme, new tax regime or alternative tax regime? Answer is yes. Acha, what about special incomes? You remember in the last class I have told you, dear students, special incomes are chargeable at special rates. For example, lottery at 30% and long-term capital gain and so on. Okay. So normal incomes are chargeable at normal rate, these rates, and special incomes are taxable. Okay. Special incomes are taxable at the slab rates. Flat rates, whatever rates are applicable. Surcharge concept is also there. Now, this can be asked in MCQ. It says same rate are applicable for non-resident senior citizen, super senior citizen. So, Mr. X, aged 82 years, wants to go for new tax regime. What will be the basic exemption? 2,50,000. Once again, if you are paying tax in new tax regime, additional basic exemption for senior citizen, how much it is? 3 lakh. For super senior citizen, 5 lakh. That is not applicable. Clear to all of you, right? Okay. Now, conditions to be satisfied. Here we complete with the basics. Is there any doubt in the basics? Put it in chat box or clear. New tax regime is applicable for individual and HUF. Tax rates you have to pay like this: normal income, special rates, you have to pay the tax. Okay. Rebate, surcharge, rest all same. And seniority benefit is not given to anyone. Now, when you are paying tax as per new regime, instead of 10 lakhs up to 15 lakhs, it is only 25% tax. Above 15 lakhs, it is 30%. Okay? Right. Okay. So now above 15 lakhs, if it is 30%, then definitely you are paying tax at lower rate. So some deductions or some exemptions which are allowed in old tax regime are not allowed in the new tax regime. What are they? Following are the conditions to be satisfied. Under 115 BAC, it provides that while computing total income, following deductions would not be allowed if they opt for this. Please don't learn it as theory. What is not allowed, give a list and all. No. Understand the concept, and at the end, we will work out a problem to check the application of this knowledge. Let us first start with section 10. You remember section 10 is all exemptions. So some exemptions will not be allowed. First one, 10.5 May, leave travel concession. Leave travel concession in the 4 calendar years to visit to hometown with family, economy class flight ticket. that leave travel allowance is not exempt. Then 1013A HRA, house rent allowance, 50% rent paid minus 50% of salary and all that was allowed as deduction under section 1013A. That part was exempt for HRA. That is not allowed if you are receiving salary and you want to go for alternative tax regime. Next 1014. 1014 is those special exemptions like education allowance up to 100, hostel expenditure 400. Those special allowances are also not allowed. 1017 is daily allowances to MPs and MLAs. MPs and MLAs, they get daily allowances for few things and they are not exempt, they'll become taxable. 1032, everyone knows, this is kind of revision. Exemption in respect of income of minor child. When minor's income is clubbed in the hands of the father, okay, for every minor, how much deduction is allowed? Just for the sake of knowledge, 1500 per child. For how many children? Say, for how many children? Huh? No upper limit ki maximum 2 children. If 3 children's income is clubbed in the hands of my father, for every child, he gets an exemption under section 1032, 1500 per child. That exemption is not allowed if you are going for new tax regime. So kuch पाना है तो कुछ खोना है. You are getting that additional benefit, no? That till 15 lakhs, 30% slab rate is not there. In that case, this new regime, you will not get all these exemptions. Last is tax holiday. We all know SEZ will get the tax holiday. Whatever export profit is there and export turnover there, proportionate is exempt. That exemption will not be given if you are going for new tax regime. So section 10 related is this. I know it is very simple for me to read and explain this chapter. For you to understand it is simple, dear students, but you will have to repeat this list so that in exam you remember, okay, if it is normal salary, we give HRA, leave travel allowance, ye, wo, sab dete hain. But if it is this, these exemptions are not allowed. Coming to the head of salary, standard deduction is not allowed. You know why I'm writing? By that way, I'm revising all your inter-level background. And abhi the recent exam, which was the exam January 23, one MCQ from house property, one from business head, one from capital gain, one from salary, and 2 marks. So why to let go of those marks? Can you put it in the chat box? How much standard deduction is allowed in salaries? Anyone knows? Say. How much standard deduction is allowed? Whatever is your gross salary, you get only 3 deductions. Standard deduction, entertainment allowance, and PT. So these deductions will not be allowed if you are going for new tax regime. Ma'am, means can we, I want all of you to do 3D and 5D makeup of your workbook. Workbook you all have received, right? So यहाँ पे लिखो, if you are going for new tax regime, gross salary is equal to net salary is equal to taxable salary. No deduction. No deduction you will get. Standard deduction is allowed flat 50,000. Up to 50,000 of the gross salary is exempt. That's why I'm telling you, watch the videos repeatedly. Some of you have, if I'm saying standard deduction, you are going to house property. House property में correct है. GAV का 30% मिलता है. Not here, dear students. No problem. If you are learning it right now with me, that's the importance of revision videos which I have provided. Standard deduction under the head salaries is flat 50,000. Entertainment allowance is given only to government employees. This all will be NA, not allowed. तो मैम फिर क्यों पढ़ा रहे हैं? Just for the understanding कि entertainment allowance was given under section 16 subsection 2 but अब नहीं मिलेगा. Profession tax. You remember so many times we have heard people saying हमारा ना gross salary तो 1000 rupees है, but काट कूट के हाथ में 800 आता है. तो what is that काट कूट के? TDS, PT. So profession tax, employee as well as employer all should pay under the Shop and Establishment Act. So PT, if profession tax is deducted by employer and paid, you get a deduction, but you will not get if you go for new tax regime. It's like, close your eyes and say in new tax regime, gross salary is equal to your taxable salary, no deductions. Is my speed fine? If you want, I can go still slow, because new tax regime is a chapter where the whole package of interlevel, all the topics I will be touching up. So even if I am taking half an hour extra, one class extra, no target ki isko khatam karna hai bas. Exceptions, few will be allowed. Transport allowance. If an employee is handicapped and they get transport allowance up to 3,200 per month is allowed. Transport allowance is allowed, exempted, even in new tax regime, 3,200 per month for handicapped employee. Can I not print all this in the material, but I want it to be imprinted in the mind. That's why I am making you write this. Conveyance allowance, to and fro office and all is allowed. Any allowance grant to meet up the travel on tour or transfers, like official travels, whatever you're doing is allowed. Daily allowances. If you get daily allowances, if you are in, hilly area, mines, where there is risk of life and all, you get daily allowances. So they are exempt. Once again, check the list of exemptions and then check the list of salary chapter. Is it clear? After salary, what is the second head? Income from house property. What is the relationship? Employer-employee relationship. House property में क्या है? Owner and tenant relationship. So interest on loan in self-occupied property, NA, not allowed. You remember we can divide the house properties into three. That is self-occupied property, let-out property, and deemed let-out property. Self-occupied, let-out, and deemed let-out. So in self-occupied property, because I'm staying in my own house, GAV is nil, NAV is nil, but still interest on loan is allowed. Can I stay in my own house and can I pay the housing loan EMI interest till 15, 16 years and claim as deduction? Answer is yes. So please remember, in self-occupied property, always there is loss, because GAV, NAV is nil and interest on loan was allowed. Now, why this big was? Because interest on loan is not going to be allowed if you are going for new tax regime. Ma'am, means in new tax regime, we cannot show loss in the house property? Answer is yes. You will have to watch this lecture again after finishing off your heads of income. That's why if you remember in the last class, I said at least important all the heads of income के जो video है वो देख लो. नहीं देखे तो watch those revision videos. And again, if you want extra views for that revision videos, please let me know. I will do that extension. But unless you're thorough with that, final is not going to be easy for you. Next, 32(1)(2)(a). Normal depreciation in the business head is allowed under, what do you say? Section 32. It is allowed. In the new tax regime also, in business income, you can claim depreciation. But you cannot claim additional depreciation. If you are a manufacturer, then additional depreciation is allowed, no? That you can't claim additional depreciation. Okay? Right. Next, deduction in respect of scientific research. You all remember in-house scientific research and universities for statistical research and all, you get a deduction of 100%. If you are having your business, if you are doing in-house R&D, or you are having business, but you have donated for research and development to national laboratories and universities and colleges, you get deductions. Those deductions are NA. not allowed. Let us read one by one. Notified research associations, universities, Indian Company for Scientific Research. Huh? How many of you have cleared the exam long back and are not able to recollect? Let me know so that for more I'll have to talk. If any students have cleared their inter exam before 2 years, it was weighted deduction for scientific research. 125%, 150%, but that is done away with now. It's exactly 100% deduction only now. Okay? Next, 35 AD. Investment linked incentives for business. When you set up specified business, warehousing business, manufacturing of fertilizers, iron ore, 2-star and above hotel, multi speciality hospitals, you are doing a specified business, then you can deduct capital and revenue expense all. That is what is 3580. That deduction will not be allowed if you go for new tax regime. Deduction in respect of notified agricultural project. Nowadays, agricultural activity is not farmers' activity. We have horticulture colleges where students are doing graduation and post graduation. That's why earlier, like rarely seen fruits, dragon fruit, kiwi, sweet corns, now they are available freely. So this agricultural farming, if you are doing certain projects which is encouraging farming and you are claiming a business head deduction, now it will not be allowed. Deduction for business heads are over. If you want, you can make an arrow mark and this is like business head. ये अकेला था जो इनकम फ्रॉम हाउस प्रॉपर्टी था. उसके पहले जो थे, these are all like from salary. Clear? Clear until now? Now let us go to capital gain. Capital gain rarely comes. It's not a routine income. When you transfer a capital asset and if there is profit, then you call it short term, long term, and you pay the tax. So no change whether you are paying tax in old or new tax regime. I'll tell you the logic behind it. Old and new tax regime is for your normal income. Capital gain income is special income taxed at special rates, which we have discussed in the last class. So no change. Now come to income from other sources. Gift and saving account interest and FD interest and board sitting fees and all. Here, you are getting a deduction in family pension, 1/3 or 15,000, whichever is lower, in income from other sources, which is not applicable now. If you are going for new tax regime, this deduction is not allowed. Next, ATC to ATU. Once you compute 5 heads of income, it's called as your gross total income. From that, you give deductions ATC, PPF, LIC, ATU, handicap. बहुत सारे deductions you give. So deductions under chapter 6A are not allowed other than contribution towards NPS under 80CCD2. National pension scheme mein if you are contributing 80CCD2, okay, other than employers. So employers contribution deduction is allowed. And deduction is allowed if you employ new employees under 80JJAA. इतना in depth I don't think they'll ask you कि 80AA जब AA इसमें क्या है? If you employ new workers, if you pay them 100 rupees wages, 30% you get additional deductions because you are helping to meet up one of India's major problem, that is unemployment. So 80C to 80U, you cannot claim any deduction if you are going for new tax regime except 80CCD2 National Pension Scheme and 80JJAA. First, just scroll up in your material and I'm taking a pause. I'm here only. If you have any doubt, unmute and ask or put it in the chat box. बोलो. Check करो इसको, वापस पढ़ो. The more problems we solve, it will be clear, the new tax regime. Clear until now? No doubt? Yeah. Somewhere if you're like listening with lot of surprise ki ye kya cheez hai, scientific research 35 AD, then one simple request is no problem. Just open any of your intermaterials if you don't have on the website, also it is there, and just refer that again. Just click 35 AD, Google will also give you information, the list. So like this, just scroll back and revise so that you are clear with all this. Yeah, very correct. Depreciation is allowed in the old tax regime and new tax regime. But in old regime, if you are a manufacturer, if you have purchased a new plant and machinery, you are getting 20% additional depreciation. That additional depreciation will be not allowed. All this is a list of deductions which are not allowed. Not allowed. If you want, put this in bold. Clear? All these exemptions not allowed. Salary mein all the deductions not allowed. Interest on self-occupied property not allowed. Additional depreciation, scientific research not allowed. 35 AD deductions not allowed. Family pension not allowed. ATC to ATU not allowed. Ma'am, why like this? This is the, frankly speaking, to be very frank, this unnecessarily they have made it complicated. And I don't know, as an investor, I feel why I will pay the tax in new tax regime if I generally, every layman puts the money in PPF. This is not relevant for the exam, but you should understand the practical implication. See, I have you heard people around you, your parents or anyone, हाँ PF में थोड़ा पैसा तो डालते हैं. LIC, they generally take up simple policy, term policy, at least for 50,000 to 1 lakh rupees maturity. उतना तो ले ही लेते हैं, small people also. So PPF, LIC. So government was trying to encourage कि from your income you save and put it in good investment so that whenever at retirement you need money, you will get it from PPF and LIC. Now, if I am paying tax in new regime, I'm not getting any benefit of putting the money in PPF and LIC. In short, we are discouraging people from making good investments. So I don't feel it is right, but ab hai new tax regime. ठीक है? Next. While computing total income, set off of any losses, carry forward or depreciation from earlier year, if such loss or depreciation is attributable to above, will not be allowed. And under house property with loss, under house property with any other head would not be allowed. In house property, if there is a loss, generally we can set off house property loss in business income, house property loss in salary and all. So this kind of set off is not allowed in the new tax regime. That is the meaning of the second line. House property ka loss carry forward hoga agar deemed let out mein. See, I'll explain everything. In case of house property, self-occupied property, no question of loss because interest on loan is not allowed. And DLOP, deemed let out property and let out property, if there is a loss, 3, and if there is an income in another property. In one property, 3 rupees is loss. Another property, 5 rupees is income. Sorry, income should be written without bracket. Is my speed fine? You all are following? Can you comment? House property. Self-occupied, you cannot show a loss. Deemed let out. Suppose there is a loss. 3. Self, another let out property. Koi kiya hai. This is house 1. This is house 2. There is income. Can I set off like this? Yes. Suppose I change it. Loss is 13. And another house income is 5. Now how much is loss, dear students? 8. Can I carry forward this loss? Yes. But can I set off it with business income? Answer is no. In short, house property loss cannot be set off with other heads of income. Now coming to the first one. See, scientific research deduction, say 5 rupees, not allowed. Additional depreciation, 3 rupees, not allowed. When these deductions are not allowed, related to these deductions, if there is a brought forward loss of earlier year, that time I was not in 115 BAC. So this earlier year loss is because of scientific research, because of additional depreciation. Will that loss be allowed to be set off? Answer is no. Read it again. While computing total income, set off of any loss, carry forward or depreciation from any earlier assessment year, if such loss or depreciation is attributable to any of the deductions referred in one above, it's not allowed. Certain losses are not allowed to be set off. And simple logic is, ma'am, family pension is only not allowed to relate it to that loss. Scientific research, as it is, that deduction is not allowed. So if you have 2020 scientific research loss, can I set it off now? Answer is no. Deduction is not allowed, and related to that, if earlier losses are brought forward, they are also not allowed. Okay, right. So these are all with examples. I have made it clear. Read it again. If you have any doubt, ask me. If you want to note down the examples, then I'll have to write it properly in the notebook. In dono ke liye. Now, depreciation or additional depreciation. Depreciation is allowed. Deduction in respect of block of asset is allowed up to 40%. Now we all know highest rate of depreciation is only 40%. Okay. Additional depreciation is not allowed. In case of individual HUF opting for 115 BAC alternative or new tax regime, total income should be computed without set off of any loss brought forward or depreciation from any earlier years, where such loss or depreciation is attributable to any of the deductions. So such loss depreciation would be deemed to have been already given effect to, and no further deduction will be allowed. Are you getting? If there is brought forward business loss because of depreciation, allowed. Additional depreciation, not allowed. C. As per 115 BAC, additional depreciation brought forward business loss cannot be set off in new tax regime if it pertains to the previous year. 10 lakhs is unabsorbed depreciation. You know, take a pause and listen to me. Unabsorbed depreciation can be brought forward and set off for n number of years. इसके लिए ना थोड़ा out of the background जाना पड़ेगा. Listen, all of you. Generally, all the losses can be carried forward for, they can be carried forward for 8 years and set off. Speculative losses from horse races, 4 years. Set off wala revision lecture dekhna. Loss due to unabsorbed depreciation is called like a brahmastra. It can be carried forward for indefinite period, not for 4 years, 8 years. Unabsorbed depreciation, and because of that, if loss is coming, say 8 rupees, 8 rupees can be carried forward for n number of years, and it can be set off in any hands except salary. अब ये मैम क्या बोल रहे हैं? There are 5 heads of income, no? 1 and 3 are not friends. Who is the first head of income? Salary. Who is the third head of income? Business head. They are not friends. So, unabsorbed depreciation brought forward can be carried forward for indefinite period to be set off anywhere except salary. This is the thumb rule. Now, ma'am, but unabsorbed depreciation brought forward is 3 lakh because of the normal depreciation. 2 lakh because of additional. 2 lakhs will lapse. अब नहीं मिलेगा आपको वो set off. Clear? I'll give one more example also, and that will make it more clear. ये देखो. 10 lakh is unabsorbed depreciation, of which 6 lakh is normal depreciation and 4 lakh is additional depreciation. 6 lakhs can be set off. 4 lakhs to be added back to the WD. You have taken it as a loss, तो WDV तो कम किया होगा ना. You must have charged 10 lakh depreciation earlier. That's why you are carry forward the 10 lakh rupees ka loss. So 4 lakh add back in the WDV. Now only 6 lakhs loss can be carried forward and set off. Take your time. It is like little technical language, 4th and 5th point. If you have a doubt, we can add on more example. And please add on unabsorbed depreciation. Unabsorbed depreciation can be carried forward for indefinite period. You should know this. It's carried forward for indefinite period. अच्छा है, clear है? Yes. Now the part which I am discussing is Acha, 4th point you want me to repeat? Yeah, this example is clear here. In case of individual and HUF, total income should be computed without set off of the brought forward or depreciation. Where such loss or depreciation is attributable to deductions listed above, such loss and depreciation would have been already given effect to, and no further deduction will be allowed. So depreciation part I have cleared, but other loss. Say business loss related to scientific research, rupees 50,000 is brought forward. Last year there was business loss which we have carried forward, and that business loss was because of scientific research. Now this year, are you going to get deduction for current year's scientific research? No. So how can we deduct brought forward? Ma'am, this time business income is 80,000. Can I set off this scientific research wala loss? Answer is no. Normally business income may you can set off business loss, but not scientific research, because scientific research is as it is not allowed as deduction. So they said if any loss or depreciation is attributable which is not allowed, then no further deduction shall be allowed for any subsequent year. Is the example now clear? This is for other losses and this is for depreciation. Clear? Now what I am discussing, I feel they are many times asking this as MCQs. One line they will give and 4 bits they will give. This scheme of 115 BAC is optional. Wow. Ma'am, every year we can decide, can I pay the tax in normal old tax regime or new tax regime? Answer is yes. You can decide it every year. But if you have business income, then decide once for continue forever. If you opt out, you can't opt in. I should read, no, as a teacher, but I don't know good or bad. Few things very difficult to read word to word क्योंकि हम law नहीं पढ़ रहे. I'll explain in my way. You'll be able to answer in MCQs. Old tax regime, your tax rate wala method yesterday, and new tax regime. Individuals and HUFs can choose every year. Ma'am, last year I did with new tax regime. Can I now go with old? Yes. This time again old then new? Yes. You can choose every year if you don't have business income. But if you have business income, then for once you decide, you want to go for old or new. Ma'am, I want to go for new. Continue forever. After 4 years filing the return in new tax regime, ma'am, I want to go for old. Okay, go out. Lifetime you cannot come in till you have business income. ये बिल्कुल clear होना है so that you can hit the MCQ, and this is like a GK kind of question कि again if you don't read also you should be able to answer. फिर भी let us read word to word from here. In case an individual or HUF having no income from business, where such income or HUF has no business income, the option has to be excised along with return of income for previous year. In effect, individual can choose whether or not to exercise each year. I want you to highlight, isko box mein dalo. No business income Each year you make a choice. Old, new, new, old, old, whatever. In case individual and HUF has business income, while filing the return, furnishing the return for any year relevant to assessment year 22, 21, 22, because that's the year when the scheme started. Once such option is exercised, it would continue. Option can be withdrawn once it was exercised by individual and HUF for previous year other than the year in which it was exercised. Once they can opt out. Thereafter, individual and HUF shall never be eligible to opt in. Once you opt out, you are never eligible to opt in except individual and HUF ceases to have business income. Ma'am, when I opted out, I was having business income, but now I'm not having business income. So I have shifted from this to this category. Now you can choose every year. I have given 4 or 5 different angles. If you have 8, 9 angle, ask me. Unmute and ask या पूछो. Doubt है तो पूछो. Yeah. Anything.
Ma'am, in the last point, when you said the individual has ceases to have any business income and he can choose every year to alternate in the old and new, no, ma'am. So once you have, adding to that point, once he suppose let's say he's having a new income resume, he has stopped his business income, he has gone to old resume. Again, he started to have a business income. So can he have one more withdrawal for that, or he has to go back to the new income itself?
Not allowed. Once you have business income, you have to opt in and continue. If you opt out, he cannot opt in ever again if he is having the business income. Why did you opt out? Because you were not having business income. You said, chalo, old mate, he can, all. Again, you have business income, still you cannot opt in. Opting in is only once in lifetime for business income. Clear?
Business income opting is fine, ma'am. Choosing the resume for business income is what I'm concerned. Like while he was having a business income, he was in the new resume. He stopped his business income. He went back to his old resume. So now he's having business income again. Which resume will be he choosing? The old one or the new one?
Old one. Now he cannot opt in.
Okay, so when the newest, latest one, the old one, he'll be sticking to that itself. He cannot change to the new one. Okay.
No. Okay. Right. Yes. If you have the business income, you have to stick to ones. But I got your question is very in-depth. Appreciated. You are saying because he ceased to have business income, he went in the old regime. Again, now he has business income. Can he again make a choice? No. This is like once decided you have opted out, you can't opt in again. Then तो it will इसका कोई मतलब ही नहीं रहेगा ना. They said कि option can be withdrawn only once where they have excised and they are having the business income. Again you have business income, again you have opt-in, तो फिर once का क्या मतलब रहेगा? So now is it clear to you?
Yes.
Right. चलो. Now consequences for failure to satisfy the condition. This is very simplest one. As we have seen that when you are going for new tax regime, you should not take HRA. You should not take standard deduction. You should not take additional depreciation. Ye nahi, wo nahi, wo nahi, wo nahi. And you need to satisfy certain conditions. So if you don't satisfy the condition, then also automatically you are out of the new tax regime. And you have to file the return as if you are following the old tax regime. Now actually not applicable for our syllabus, but just to boost new tax regime, from this year rebate limit, which is otherwise 5 lakh, is made 7 lakhs for the new tax regime. But still, honestly, if you calculate, sometimes or most of the times the tax is low in the old tax regime, because there we are taking lot of deductions. Yeah, for those people, this is my practical experience. I'm filing my own family's 13 returns. So in case of HUF and some returns, wherein as it is deductions are not there, very senior citizen, they are not paying LIC. After 70, 80, who pays LIC? So after 70 years, they're not paying LIC and all. So no point in going in the old regime just for the purpose of deduction, because anyhow, I'm not availing any deduction. At 70 years, anyhow, I'm not getting salary and standard. So for those people, new tax regime. This is just a general idea I'm giving. Otherwise, PPF, LIC, ATCs, your ATD, Mediclaim, all that will be there. Basic जो saving account पे मिलता है, 80 TTA, 80 TTB, all that is allowed in the old tax regime only. ठीक है? So following are the consequences for failure to satisfy conditions. On failure to satisfy conditions mentioned above in any previous year, option exercised would be invalid in respect of assessment year relevant to previous year and subsequent year. So this option of new tax regime is not applicable because you have not fulfilled the condition. Consequently, other provisions of income tax, routine, old provisions would apply as if he has not exercised the option for that previous year and the subsequent year. So if you don't comply with the conditions, anyhow you come out. Or if you don't have business income, you have a choice. Come in, come out, go. If you have business income, opt in. Better. If you opt in, don't opt out. Once you opt out, you can't opt in again. Clear? Right. Now, this is just a GK. I feel we should read and understand rather than mugging up. I am employer. I want to deduct TDS for Kasif, for Prerna, for Melisha, all of you. Okay. Now, I want to, you all know how the employers deduct TDS for employee. They take all the details from you. They give you some form to fill up, and whatever is your tax, they divide by 12, and every month that much TDS is deducted. Okay. So I am asking to all my employees to give all the income details, and according to that, I have to deduct the TDS. Now, if Kasif is opting for old tax regime, the tax would be different and TDS would be different. Melisha, if you are opting for new tax regime, the tax is different and the TDS will differ. So as an employer, what am I supposed to do? As an employer, on the very 1st April, I will ask my employees, give your details and give your preference. I should deduct TDS as per old regime or as per new regime. And whatever preference employee has given, I will freeze it for 12 months. In between the year, I will not change. You can't tell me after 7 months, ma'am, until now I was doing in the old regime, now I want to go for the new regime. Now tax will be deducted for all the 12 months at the old regime only. But here they have given an emotional benefit. You know what that benefit is? Employee has told employer in the month of April to deduct the TDS as per the new tax regime. Then at the time of filing the return, if he wants to change his mind and file the return in old tax regime, can he do so? Answer is yes. Did you get it? I will repeat. For deduction of TDS by employer, employee should decide the option at the beginning of the financial year, whether he wants the TDS to be deducted at old regime or new regime. Old and new, decide kar. And consistency will be maintained. But while filing the return, employee cannot be forced. I have opted for the old regime, TDS is deducted as per old regime, so now I'll have to file the return as per old. They can change unless they don't have business income. As an employee, if you have business income, then same logic will apply. Very interesting this is. Let us give it a reading. For the purpose of TDS, having income other than income under that profits and gains of business and profession, and intending to opt for concessional rate, it is required to intimate to the deductor, being his employer, of such intention for previous year. Intimate the employer. The deductor shall compute the total income and TDS as per 115 BAC if you go. If such intimation is not made, employee, then the employer will deduct without considering. So you just intimate in the beginning. Now, it is also clarified intimation show made to deduction shall be only, intimation made shall be only for the purpose of the TDS during the previous year. It cannot be modified during the year. Once made in April and August, you cannot change the mode. However, intimation would not amount to excising option, and the person shall be required to do so along with return to be furnished under 139(1) for that previous year. Are you getting? However, intimation would not be amounting to exercising, means you have intimated to employer, so you cannot change. But that does not mean excising the options in the new regime, and the person shall be required to do so along with return. Thus, option at the time of filing the return could be different from what you have intimated to the employer. क्या language है law के जैसा, but is it simple or not? Employer, inform your employer at the beginning whether you want to opt for old and new, and it will not change in between the year. It cannot be modified during the year. Once the year is over, while filing the return, employee has option which could be different from what you have intimated to your employer. Simple. Further, employee who has income under profits and gains of business, an option has been excised once, they cannot be changed subsequently. Accordingly, if the employee is having business and profession, he has to intimate to employer. However, intimation to employer in subsequent year must not deviate from option once excised. So if you have business income, you need to continue. If you opt out, you can't opt in. Clear? So we are solving the problem related to this, but is all the explanation clear or not? Just 2 minutes break, scroll all the concepts, because now when I apply this and solve, and I will not just solve the problem as per the new regime, we will do comparative. We will solve the problems and calculate the tax with old and new, and then give your expert advice. So just 2 minutes break, check your watches and check up for once everything, all the provisions. If you have any doubt somewhere, I have marked MCQ also, तो कहीं कोई भी doubt है तो see, as they are asking, compare your regular tax for the company and MAT. Many times in the exam, they are asking nowadays, twice until now they have asked, calculate for individual regular tax, that is the old slab rates, and the new tax regime, whichever is beneficial. Okay. So like this straight, they can ask you 5 marks question, or they can ask you MCQs. For MCQs, most important is, like if they don't have business income, they can opt for every year. If they have business income, one opted in, they cannot opt out. TDS, they need to decide it right in the beginning of the year. They cannot change it. Normal depreciation allowed, additional depreciation not allowed. Business losses allowed to be set off and carry forward, but not related to those deductions, which are not allowed. See, deduction for business head mein which deductions are not allowed? Check the list. Additional depreciation, scientific research, 35AD specified business, and agricultural project. So if these are not allowed as it is, if these are not allowed, then why we would allow the losses related to this? Simple logic. Just solve the problem with me, it will be very clear. And in MCQs, they can ask you this, dear students, that if they are going for new tax regime, it is applicable for whom? Only individual and HUF. And if he is of 82 years, will you get basic exemption of 5 lakh? Answer is no. No additional basic exemptions are applicable. Rest all surcharge, rebate, special income, special rates, all same. Chalo. Let us solve problem number 2 first. Akhil, 35 years, has provided following details relating to his income for previous year 22-23. Income from businesses given to you 15 lakhs. Income from saving account interest 12,000. Interest on PPF. PPF interest is written in income from other sources in inner column, but otherwise it is exempt. Investment in PPF, if you make up to 1,50,000, you get a deduction under 80C. At least in after today's class, I want all of you to check 80C, 80D, 80TTA, and 80 TTB. ये इतने sections तो which are very common and they can ask you in final also. So read this. You are requested to compute his tax liability and advise him whether he should opt for alternative tax regime or not. Is reading the question paper बोलने वाली थी मैं, question paper नहीं है. Our material में से problem is clear, right? Let us go to the notebook and solve this. One second. Yesterday we have done this unutilized basic exemption. Now below that I am doing this problem. Chalo. Let us call it as concept of alternative tax regime. Alternative tax regime. Section 115 BAC. Okay, right. And let us solve it with two options in particulars. Computation of income of Mr. A. And then particulars and two options. Old regime, that is routine tax rates, and new regime or alternative tax regime, 115 days. First, let us compute the income, then we will compute the tax. So what is the business income? Business income is 15 lakhs. Directly they have given. If they would have given add less, we need to work out. In income from other sources, they have saving account interest. Saving account FD, all the interest are always there in income from other sources. And they have PPF interest. Inner column you write down 36,000. Outer column you write down exempt. Because PPF interest is completely exempt. Okay. Now, what is your GTI or gross total income? 15 lakh 12,000. Nice. Now, deduction under section 80C, because you have put the money in PPF, is allowed up to 1,50,000 in the old tax regime. In the new regime, only two deductions are allowed. 80 JJAA, providing employment additional wages to workers, or एक था 80 CCD2, that was national pension scheme. Now total income. Yeah, pick up your calculators and calculate 15 lakh 12,000 minus 150. 1362. 15 lakh 12,000. Total income is clear. Now, let us calculate the tax thereon. One by one we'll calculate. Let us first calculate the tax over here, old tax regime. So 0 to 2.5 lakh, it is nil. 2.5 lakh to 5 lakh, it is 12,500. 5 lakh to 10 lakhs, it is 20% on the next 5 lakh, that is 1 lakh. And whatever is above the 10 lakh, 3,62,000, 30%. This is 5%. This is 20%. So 3,62,000 ka 30%. Are you all clear? Anyone needs help for the tax calculation? We have done it yesterday also. But still, if you have doubt, pucho. Up to 10 lakhs, the tax is always 1,12,500 for normal SSEs here. And beyond that, whatever you get, seedha 30%. So what is the tax? 221, 100. On that, what is the ESES? 4%. 8844. So what is the tax payable? Should write it in the particulars column better. Tax payable. Yes, faster than me. 2 lakh 29,000. Oh, sorry. One more mistake I did. Did. Can anyone say what mistake I have done? One more deduction is allowed, which I missed. And no one remembered it. Babe, this is the impact. जब बहुत आगे जाते हैं तो पीछे भूल जाते हैं. You know, under section 80, under section 80 TTA, saving account interest is exempt up to 10,000. I missed giving that benefit. Under 80 TTB, saving account and FD interest both are allowed up to 50,000. Clear to all of you? Huh? तो ऐसे ये allowed है. So this will reduce your income further to 13,52,000. And balance will be 3,52,000 pay. The tax will change. 3,52,000 into 30%. 105600 plus 1,12,500. That is 2,18,100 into 4%. 8 218 100 8724 is this, and so the tax payable is coming to how much? Calculate and say faster than me. 218 100 plus this 226 824. Yes, now it is correct. Good. If we do mistake here, we will remember. Rounded off. You remember section 288 says income is to be rounded off in the multiples of 10. Last class, first class में आपको लिखाया था. And 288B says tax should also be rounded off in the multiples of 10. So it will be 226 820. 226 824, 226 820. Take your time. If you have any doubt here, please ask. Then only we will go in the next one. Okay? Check and ask if you have any doubt. Old tax regime is clear? Acha, ma'am, in the new tax regime also, shall we have deductions? No deductions. Only 80 JJAA and 80 CCD2. 80 CCD2 is allowed for national pension scheme of the employer. 10% of the basic NDA is allowed. Now on 15 lakh 12,000. Can we calculate the tax as per the new tax regime? And as per the new tax regime now, 0 to 2.5 lakhs. First, nil. Next, 2.5 lakhs पे कितना है? 5%. 12,500. Next, 2.5 lakh. That is up to 5 lakh to 7 lakh 50,000. Okay. It is 10%. That is 25,000. Then next 2.5 lakh. It is 15%. 37,500. Are you all getting? 0 to 2.5 lakh. Then 2.5 to 5 lakh. Then 5 lakh to 7.5 and 7.5 to 10 lakh. 10 lakh तक तो आ गए हम. अब 10 lakh to 12 lakh 50,000. So on the next 2.5 lakh, it is 20%. And then on the next 2.5 lakh, it is 25%. So 250 into 20% is 50,000. 250 ka 25% is 62,500. And now above 15 lakhs you have 12,000. Whatever is your income above 15 lakhs, it is taxable at 30%. So 12,000 into 30%, that comes to 3,600. So what is the total tax payable? 3,600 plus 62,500 plus 50,000 plus 37,500 plus 25,000 plus 12,500. Yes. Thank you for calculating faster than me. Yes. Answer is correct. 191, 100. 191, 100. 191,100, and on that 4% is the ECESS, 7644 is the cess, 4% add it, and what is your tax payable? 191,100. So 198,744. One second, dear students. So which tax is beneficial for him, old or new? Which one is beneficial, old or new? New tax regime. Yes. So like that you have to write conclusion. Mr. Akhil should opt for new tax regime as tax payable is less. This is in the very first year, dear students, but he is having business income. So if he is opting for new tax regime next year, even if in new tax regime the tax is more, he will continue. And if he opts out, he cannot opt in because he's having business income. Is this clear to all of you? Check the whole problem. Business income same, income from other sources same, interest is exempt, saving account interest you will get the deduction, PPF you will get the deduction, and so on. In the old regime, you can calculate the tax. In new, you know, for every 2,50,000, 5% extra you give. Okay, easy or not this calculation? Let us take up one more problem. एक और करते हैं, first वाला. That is related to salary. Now salary so much in detail they will not ask inter-level कि leave salary के 4 bits calculate करो, you know, government limit and actual leave salary. So I'm going to start directly from the gross salary, just reading the problem for all of you. Compute the following furnished by March 23 and you are requested to compute. X retired in December at the age of 58 after putting in service of 25 years and 9 months. When someone is retiring in the financial year, that too in December, we will take the salary only for 9 months. From April till December, because after that he is not receiving salary. Okay. Now HRA, you will give the exemption normal. In the new one, you will not give the exemption. New regime में HRA का exemption नहीं मिलता, old में मिलता. But now detailed, if I teach, it will be like teaching salary chapter, which is equivalent to 7-8 classes. They'll not ask you this much in detail in final. Normal is touched up as business head. But just I've picked up the problem for calculation of the tax. On retirement, he was paid gratuity and he was not covered in the Gratuity Act. Then average salary of the last 10 months and actual gratuity received and government limit 20 lakhs, whichever is least. Leave salary also like that they have received. After retirement, he ventured into textile business and incurred a loss. Can you set off business loss and salary income? Answer is no. So this point has got no relevance except that you have to write a note. and he invested in PPF. Yes, old you will get a deduction, new you will not get a deduction. Okay. So after reading the problem, just to pay attention more on the first one only. Just a minute. Just a minute. What I'm doing is I'm solving it directly from the gross salary. इसको gross salary से solve करते हैं. Problem number 1. Computation of income and tax for Mr. X. चलो साथ में शुरू करते हैं. Yeah, the basic salary will be like he has worked for only 9 months and 40,000. So 4 nines are 36 and all. Directly, I want all of you to start from gross salary, because each and every allowance, if we do in detail also, not desirable now. Just take the figures, what I am giving. 796, 250 is here, and 715, 250 is here. This is old regime and this is 115 BAC new regime. Ma'am, why there is difference? Because here HRA exemption is allowed. There it is not allowed. Here the leave salary and all are to routine. Baki to sab same hi hai. But here HRA, I wrote reverse, 1 second. Huh? This income will be more in case of the new regime. 115 BAC, because HRA deduction is not allowed, and this is old. चलो यहाँ से शुरू करते हैं. Shall I give standard deduction in the new one? No, nil. Here shall I give? Yes. How much deduction is allowed? 50,000. So what is the taxable salary? 796, 250 in the new one. In the old one, 715, 250 minus 50,000. So 665, 250 in the old regime. ये हो गया आपका taxable salary. Is there any other income from other sources, business income and all? No. Then they have put the money in PPF. So under section 80C PPF deduction. Here though they will not get. Here of course they will get. In the old regime, 1,50,000. Now what is the TI or total income? Any doubt until now? I've just started with gross salary because no point, I can't like directly make you copy ki relieve salary ke 4 bits se aur karo. Not necessary. So what is the total income? 796, 250. And here you have given standard deduction also, PPF also. Here you are not giving both. Now let us calculate the tax. Now let us first do the new tax regime. So on the first 2.5 lakh, nil. Next 2.5 lakh, 5%, 12,500. Next 2.5 lakh, 10%, 25,000. ठीक है, तो ये हो गया आपका 750. 750 के above it is 46, 250. 796, 250 minus 750. So on 46, 250, it will be 15%. It is coming to how much? 6,938. So what is, are you all writing or not? Anyone sitting in the class and just taking the screenshots won't help, because you have to write 3 hours exam. So 6,938 plus 25,000 plus 12,500. What is the tax coming? $44,438 plus add cess, E cess 4%.
Ma'am, 25,000 tax won't come, no, ma'am. I mean, 7,50,000 ही है ना, 7 lakhs below 10 lakhs, no, ma'am. 15%
I'm
will
doing
become
it in the new tax regime. First one
new
is
one.
new tax regime. I've shifted the column. This is without standard deduction, without PPF, new tax regime. So new tax regime is for every 2,50,000 increase in income, the tax rates will go up.
That is true, ma'am, but you have exceeded 2.5 lakhs more. 12,500 के बाद directly 6,900.
That is 750 ke above 46,250 is there, no, on that 15%. Okay, 1778. So what is your tax payable coming? 250, 250, 250, 750, but above 750 also 796 is the income. So on
Yes,
the next one it is
I missed
15%.
one thing. I missed one, ma'am. Clear.
Now, what is the tax? 46,216, and above 5 and onwards is rounded off to 46,220. New tax regime for every 2,50,000 increase in income, 5% the rate of tax is increasing, and there is concept of rebate and surcharge here also. Chalo, now old one, 5,15,250, तो rebate तो नहीं मिलेगा. Now on the first 2.5 lakh tak, it is nil. Next 2.5 lakh 12,500, and 5 lakh ke above 15,250 ka directly 20%. Now directly 20%, what you were saying, is 3050. So what is the tax coming to? Tax is coming to, correct, 15,550 into 4% is your cess. 15 16,172. So that should be rounded off to 16,170. Now look at this. New tax regime, the income is more because standard deduction is not there, HRA is not there. Here you are getting, so here old tax regime is better. बहुत फर्क है. Income is low in the old tax regime and tax is also low in the old tax regime. So conclusion, Mr. X should opt for old tax regime as tax is low. In the old tax regime, the tax is low. अच्छा है, clear है. And just compare, here income is low in the old tax regime, tax is low. It's not always the same case. Look at this. Here, old tax regime, the income is low, but the tax is high. New tax regime, the income is more, but the tax is low. Because once you cross 10 lakh, here it is 30%. There, in the new tax regime, once you cross 15 lakhs, it is 30%. So higher tax walon ko, it is like, if you are in the higher tax rate and all, and jada kuch deductions are not there, so new tax regime is beneficial because the tax rates are low. This no one is going to ask you in exam, just giving a comparison. And if you want to claim all the benefits like this fellow wants to do, standard deduction, ATC and all, and his income is also low, better go for the old one. Shall I close the screen? All clear? Screen sharing is becoming a trouble. OneNote I'm using always, but आज नहीं हो रहा था तो the whole screen I've shared. Anyhow, technology से रोज लड़ाई है, but समझ में आया? The new tax regime says If you want to go for new tax regime, not every SSE can go. I'm just giving gist revision. Individuals and HFs. Normal income, for every 2,50,000 increase in income, the tax rate should increase by 5%. And you will not get certain deductions and certain PPFs and all. You can opt every year. If you have business income, opt in, don't opt out. If you opt out, don't opt in again. Like that, all other details are there. Only individuals and HF for your normal income. Acha, even in new tax regime, if I am having lottery, 30%, long term, short term wala, 15%, 20%, whatever routine you're doing the problem, go ahead with that. Okay, so this is all about the new tax regime. I've built up a background. I have given you practice this. I'm going to cover it up in your first class test. Your first class test portion is old tax rates, flat rates, unutilized marginal relief, all. And this one, the new tax regime. And your third topic, which we are going to do, that is alternative minimum tax. So this is a package. And one thing from now I want to say, alternative minimum tax, in that I'll be solving problems in combination. AMT के साथ ना बड़ा favorite combination है. You know how businesses are done, like McDonald's is with the burger is with the Coke, and then we have vada pav with the lassi. These are the combos. Yeah, there are jumbo vada pav chains across India, and they started the concept of vada pav, which is spicy with lassi, buttermilk, all. So like that, alternative minimum tax, whenever it is asked in exam, it is asked with section 10AA. Section 10AA is for SEZ. Total profit, total turnover. Export profit, export turnover is exempt under section 10AA. So I will use that, and with that I will solve AMT problem. So write it down if you want to write. For AMT class, the next class, section 35AD, specified businesses, and section 10AA, you need to study and come. I will explain you all the concept of AMT, carry forward, and we will solve the problems also of AMT. These are like background chapters. Once when we go to MAT and other cases and all, they will compare कि अच्छा MAT and new tax regime आएगा, MAT and old. That time this part should be clear. Okay. Any more doubts anyone is having? Ask. No, then that's all for today's class. In the third class, we will continue with AMT. Keep preparing in writing. Most of the students at final level are really intelligent. They ask very nice queries, as you have been asking today. They understand everything. But dear students, mindset clear रखो. आपके नाम के आगे degree लगाना है, result लेना है, and then bye bye to study hours. Till then, do writing practice. Huh? From your module also, you can start solving the problems. If you have any queries, we are connected through WhatsApp. Bye bye. That's all for today.